I have 10 tips on the new tracking, map, and ping system that are going to take your play level from noob to pro. Tip number 1 is starting off with my personal favorite, which is the crafting tracking system. What this means is that you can now track the items that you want to craft, knowing how much materials you need to make them and how many of that particular item you can make. So what we're going to do here is we are going to craft some stone walls. First, we'll unlock the engram, and then you go into crafting menu. And you go down to the engram, you hit right click and then track. And using a controller, you hover over it and click the left stick. Once you have selected track, you'll see on the right hand side of the screen, it has the item that you want to craft and the materials required to craft it. So we need stone, thatch, and wood. You can see thatch is greened out, so we have enough thatch, but we don't have enough stone and wood. So what we're going to do is harvest some of those materials. As you can see, we now have enough wood and now we have enough stone. But typically when you're building, you want to craft a lot of a certain item, and you'll notice in the blue box there is a number. Now that number is going up as I harvest materials. This is the number of that item you can craft. So as it is right now, I am crafting 6 walls and I'm going to keep harvesting. And now we have 10 there. That means that we can now craft 10 walls. I actually love this feature. I find it so handy for building and getting started, but there is more to this. One of the best things about the crafting tracker is it can be used at any crafting station. So here we are in the industrial cooker. We're going to look at consumables, and so we want to make some kibble. We want to make some extraordinary kibble. So you can hit the right click on that and track. And now it will tell me everything that we need to get and what we have. So we have water and fiber. We need to go grab an egg, honey, lazarus, and mejo berries. The one thing it doesn't do is update the recipe once you put items in unless you retrack it. As you can see, we have everything needed in the cooker, so we can now go ahead and craft the recipe. As I said, it works for all crafting stations. We can head to the fabricator. In the fabricator, you can track any item that you can craft in there. You can also track blueprints. Here we have a compound bow BP. We can track that too to see what you need to gather. It's a lot of resources, but it helps you know how much paste and polymer you need. If a blueprint is also in a bookcase, you can track it directly from there too. To remove the tracking, you'll notice there is a little garbage bin symbol next to the name. You just simply click on that and that will remove it. There is a limit of having 3 items that you can track. If you want to track another one, you need to remove some of the prior ones. This is one of my new favorite quality of life improvements. You don't have to tab out to any other websites to find any more recipes. Tip number 2 is using your map's point of interest. These are a highly underutilized function in Ark. So I'm going to show you how to place a pin or a waypoint on your map. The first thing you'll need to do is to open up your map. You can do that a few different ways. You want to go to not the mini map, which is just one M press. You want to double tap M so you get to the big map. On a controller, you need to double tap select. You can also open your map by accessing your inventory and going over to the furthest most right hand tab. On the left hand side, you'll see waypoints and you need to select that. You can see here I've already got a waypoint set up for the swamp cave, but we are going to set up a waypoint for our home base. To add a waypoint, you need to hit the plus button. To set the name, click in the box and you can rename it to whatever you want. We are setting one for home base. I'm going to use the coordinates of where I'm standing, but you can change those too. There are several different icon options now, so you can have don't go there, maybe a friend's base or a creature. So I'm just going to select a main one, a map ping here. And there are RGB sliders that you can move to change the color of the waypoint that you want to do. You can opt to have text on or text off if you just want to use symbols. I like to have the text on, so I'll leave it selected, then hit accept. So now we have a waypoint for our home base. At this point, the waypoint should be activated, but you can toggle it off and on. There are different sounds for toggling off. It sounds like this. You can click on the waypoint again to toggle it back on. It sounds like this. So as you can see, we see the home waypoint pin. So you can activate these on the go. I'm going to double tap M. I'm going to activate my swamp cave ping. You'll see that there is a prompt. Hold R to dismiss if you want to get rid of the ping. Just hold on R. When you get to the actual ping, you can also hold R to dismiss it. These can be super helpful, especially if you are traveling in the fog or in the dark. It can just make it really easy to get a straight shot back to base if you need it. You don't always need to use it for static points of interest. I actually use it to help me tame. I have been searching the map for a bear. I finally found a 145. It's dark, it's night. I don't actually have my taming gear. So I'm gonna open up my map. I'm gonna place a waypoint and I'm gonna add one here. We're gonna make it the little like claw symbol. And now we have a bear marker. So I'm gonna go back to base to get my taming gear. So now we've grabbed all the taming gear we need and we can see where the bear is, so we can head straight back to grab it. We have made it back to the waypoint and the bear is definitely still there. One thing I have noticed, and I am not sure if it's a bug or a feature, is that these pings will actually transfer over to other servers. I'm playing on a different map right now, and you can see my swamp cave and home base pings are still here, even though my base is no longer in that location. In this case, you may want to deselect or actually remove the pings. If you want to remove all of the waypoints at once, you just select the exclamation point here and they disappear from your map. If you want to re-enable them again, just click that and they'll pop back on. Tip number 3 is to use the Taming Tracker. Now we've had the Taming Tracker on Ark Survival Evolved, but the one on Ascended is better and has lots more interesting information, so let's take a look. So here Mr. Krabby and I have trapped and are taming a Theory. While he was knocking it out, I went off to grab a yellow ring drop. And although I wasn't right next to the tame, I was able to track how the tame was progressing. So what you need to do is open up your inventory and go across to the tracking tab. It looks like a dinosaur foot with a plus symbol. Click on the drop down menu and select Tames in Progress, and then the tame appears. Then you can click on the little map marker that says Add to POI. Another piece of information is you can also see the taming effectiveness in this panel even before the creature has started eating. So if you messed up the tame or it took some damage before you even put the food in, you are going to know about it without having to waste any food or kibble. Once you have pinned the creature with the POI, you'll see it appearing on your map. So we are flying back to where the creature is. The torpor bar is in the magenta color that goes around, and you can see it going down for the Therizino. They drop torpor really quickly, so it's important to keep an eye on it. The tracking of the taming progress starts when the creature's knocked out, but the actual tame starts when you put food in. So here we've put kibble into the Therizino, and now we can see the tame in progress, which is a yellow bar. This follows the same hexagon but goes in the opposite direction. It will progress as the Therizino eats the kibble and the tame goes further along until you reach 100% taming. It's important to keep your eye on the torpor or magenta bar. If it drops before the creature has eaten all of the taming food required, you'll ruin the tame. If you decide to not pin it on your HUD, you can still monitor the taming progress by opening your inventory and the taming track. And there you will see the torpor and the taming progress as well. For a passive tame or where you don't knock out the creatures, you can also see the taming tracker. Again, you can go down to Tames in Progress. It is always a good idea to activate the pin on passive creatures because they do move away from you. You also don't want to lose where they are on the map, and also in this case we could spook the monkey and scare it and lose taming progress. You will also see that there is no purple bar because it's not knocked out, so we don't need to worry about torpor, but the taming progress will continue to show as a yellow bar going around in a hexagon shape. Tip number 4 is to use tracking to find any of your creatures. So again, open up your inventory, go to the tracking tab, and under filter type, you can select many different kinds of creatures here, or you can put them into a search bar. So say I want to find where my oviraptor is, you can just ping it, and then it will show up on your HUD. Now you might be thinking, why do I want to do that? I know where all my tames are in my base. If you're anything like me, I lose dinos in this game all the time. This is a perfect example of where the taming tracker can come in super helpful. I have lost my Tuso. Pin it. Okay, it's stuck. It must be stuck on a rock. This is where it can be super handy to have this, because we've all had this happen, a dino on follow, especially we don't have cryopods right now. There it is. Okay, now it can follow us. Again, as I have said, I lose creatures all the time. Now I've lost a Baryony. Again, go to the tracker. Just gonna start searching for berries, and I need to find one that's close to me. It's giving me all of the distances that are here. This one is about 100 meters away. That's where I think it is, and we can pin it, and there it is. It's on the other side of the lake. So this is actually an incredibly super handy feature for someone like me who's constantly losing dinos, and this one got stuck on a bridge. Tip 5 is that you can specifically track baby creatures. And the reason that this is so important is it allows you to raise creatures on the go and not sit at your base being a net. We have just hatched some baby baryonyx, and we can go into our tracker, click the down menu and select baby creatures. So in the baby tracking menu, you can actually see a lot of important and detailed information. So these berries want care, so they want an imprint in 1 hour and 35 minutes. It gives you the current imprinting levels that you have. So in this case, it is 0. It gives you the percentage of maturation and also the time it takes to the next maturational level. So we've got 54 minutes until it's juvenile. This is really helpful to know when to move babies from your nursery to a trough area. And it also tells you the last time the babies ate. This is so handy because we're going to go out now. We're going to do some base chores. We're going to go on a fish meat run and we can keep an eye on those babies. So as I said, we are away from our base. We can go to our tracker, look at the pinned ones that we have here. And as you can see, I got pretty distracted here and went for a loot run in the swamp cave, but I checked my tracker. You can see if I go back and track my babies, we're going to need to do an imprint as soon as we get back. So you can see that the baryonyx babies that we are tracking, bring up the tracker, it is saying wants care immediately. So we need to go and do our imprints. The babies' pacifier symbols will turn red when they need an imprint. This one wants a cuddle. So our imprints are done. And if we look at our tracker, you can see it'll want care in another 1 hour and 35 minutes. It is now 40% imprinted and almost 3 hours until it is an adolescent. There is also another handy way to use this. I hatched some Udi eggs and I hatched some Barry eggs. I cannot find the baryonyx. I went to feed them and I have no idea where they are, so I'm going to start tracking baby creatures. I'm going to select the pin and it looks like they are maybe stuck under the floor. So we'll pick up this and yep, it was stuck under the floor. I have had issues with baby creatures either floating up to the skybox or falling through my floors. So if you cannot find your baby creatures, put them on the tracker and then you can see, are they up in space or are they underneath your floor? Tip number 6 is to use the ping system. This is especially important in PvP where tribe communication is really essential, but you can also use it in PvE. It can be really handy, especially if you're playing with a friend that may not have a microphone. So let me show you how it works. In order to bring up the ping menu on PC, you need to click the middle mouse button and hold it down. You'll see that there are 6 different options. Go here, tame, follow, attack, danger, and rally point. All of these have a short time. So if I click danger, you'll see that there is a little timer that counts down in a hexagon. The ping will last for around 7 seconds and then disappear. The only one that's permanent is rally point. You select rally point and it stays there. Because it stays there, you actually need to clear it. So you hold it down again and clear rally point. On a controller, click down both shoulder buttons to bring up the ping menu. If you want to ping your team to a location, always use the rally point as it remains until you clear it. Another really great one to use is follow. You can actually ping that on yourself if you want your tribe mate to follow you. Although this ping does seem to have a cooldown and removes itself from your HUD, your teammate will actually see a little blue thing saying follow on your character. So as you can see here, Mr. Krabby has pinged me to follow him and the timer on the ping is gone, but you will see that a little blue hexagon remains on his character so that we can follow him. If you want to clear the faint blue hexagon, you need to hit R to clear it. We have also used the tame one to tell the other one which of these theories we want to get in our trap.
The one we want, I'm gonna ping the one we want.
Is that it?
Yes.
The other ones are pretty obvious. Danger, I'm pointing out a Thanksgiving turkey here, but you could use that in caves if there were drops. And of course you can use attack if you play PvP and you want to focus a player's attack on a certain person. The 7th tip is to use the tracker to help you find your teammates and your allies. This can be incredibly useful and let me show you. Again, you'll need to head to the tracking tab, then drop down the menu and select all teammates and allies. There you will see a bunch of allies and your teammates and you just ping the one you want. So I'm trying to find Mr. Krabby at the new base location and you can see that he is highlighted there. And if you don't want to see him, just select to unping. If you open up the map, you can also see your tribe mate there. You can select their character, get a ping, and then they'll show up on your HUD as well. Then you can easily find them no matter where they are on the map. There are a couple of situations where I find this incredibly valuable. The first one being in a cave. There's often many routes in a cave, you can get split up, and sometimes it's hard to find your teammate who might be in trouble. The other place that I find this particularly helpful for is in the Ark Ocean. It's dark, it's blurry, and it's perfect for helping you find other players and teammates. So here we are going to ping an ally. He has found a pink high level squid and I want to tame it, so I'm going to go and find him to do that. As you can see here, having a marker to follow is so much easier than using a coordinate or a landmark under the sea. Tip number 8 is how you can use the tracker to find your death bags, which is actually a lot trickier in Ark Ascended than it is in Evolve. There are no more green beams. You have to use the map and pings in order to be able to find your item cache or body. So after death, you can ping this one here and it will show your last deaths. You can turn them off, you can turn them on. It tends to show your last 4 deaths, the most recent ones and the 3 prior to that. I don't have any beds nearby. I am going to respawn back at my home base. Your last death should appear as a pinged black hexagon on your screen. So with the death tracking, you don't do it through this tracking list. If you scroll down, there are no deaths. Sometimes I track the creature I was riding, especially if I died to a server crash or rollback. So it is very important to bear in mind that it will only track your last 4 deaths. There's no more multiple green beam bodies everywhere, so just bear that in mind if you are chasing a lot of death beam bags and keep re-dying again. Some of the earlier ones might be really hard to find. Sometimes it's advisable to bring a sickle if there is really dense foliage around, because as you can see, you don't get a green beam anymore. The bags are brown, the ground is often brown, and if there's dense bushes, just harvest them with a sickle or by hand to remove them to find the bags. I actually prefer the old green beam model of bag searching, but it's better than the original Ark, which had no green beam. As you can see, we died in the ocean here. It is particularly difficult to find bags in the ocean. You can see here that the death is pinned. We're about 900 meters away in the ocean. If you cannot see the marker for your death, make sure you go into the map and make sure that the deaths are highlighted. You can click to deselect and it sounds like this, and click to reselect and it will show and you'll get the positive noise. Again, it is a little tricky to see. It doesn't give you a vertical height, but I think we have to go down here. In the ocean, your bag will often be floating in the water just like it is here. Grab all our stuff. It will keep it up as our last death. If you want to dismiss that from your HUD, hold R to dismiss, and it will disappear. You'll see it is a lot more dense on the ocean floor, which can make it really tricky to harvest a bag. A lot of these plants you can harvest by hand, or a lot of the corals you can use a pickaxe or a hatchet to harvest them. Coming at you with tip number 9 is, do you know that you can actually track vehicles in Ark now? There's not a lot of vehicles in the game, and on the island we only have rafts, but you can actually pin your raft and it will show you where its location is. This is great if you have a taming raft and you die, or you're doing ocean exploration and you're using your raft as a bed respawn. You can track it really easily. Further down the line, the other vehicles that you may find are the skiff, and who knows, maybe one day the tech jeep will make a resurrection. But as you can see, we're tracking our raft and we can find exactly where it is in the middle of the ocean. For the 10th tip, I want to mention the limitations of tracking. You can actually only track 10 things. You'll often see it saying updating info here. That means that this information is real time on the map. But you can see here that when we try and track more than 10 targets, we get an error message. It says reached max waypoint count. So you can only track up to 10 things. You have to deselect if you want to add something more. I would not suggest tracking 10 things at once. That's a lot of things on your HUD. And for the map waypoints, you can have 16 of those, and after that you reach the max. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support for the channel. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel, because I have a lot more awesome guides for Ark Survival Ascended right here.